Bodie,
Here.
Carberry Montgomery,
Here.
Kroll,
Here.
Rosendahl,
Here.
and Cacciatore is absent.
Please stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we pause to orient ourselves to the kind of civic life we are here to practice. Civility, as we understand it, is not politeness, etiquette, or agreement. It's an inner disposition rooted in recognizing the equal human dignity of every person present, including those with whom we sharply disagree. Each of us is responsible for how we speak, how we listen, and how we conduct ourselves. We are not responsible for controlling one another's views, reactions, or conclusions. This space belongs to all of us. We will speak honestly, refrain from demeaning or coercing one another, and remain present even when the conversation is difficult. By holding one another in view as persons rather than obstacles, we sustain the trust that makes shared civic life possible in Urbandale tonight and beyond. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. All right, we are to public forum, and just before I get really into the public forum, just a note for tonight, we did originally have the bike ordinance agenda for the first reading on tonight's agenda. We have pulled that. The agenda was amended to pull that tonight because of RAGBRAI. So if you're here for that tonight, we'll let you go early if you want to. So we will not be discussing or considering that tonight. So with that, then we will have the public forum. This is your opportunity to address the council on something that's not a part of a public hearing on tonight's agenda. Would anyone like to address the council this time?
So if someone was here for that ordinance and they wanted to speak, this would be a time for them to speak.
We could during public forum if they'd like to do that now. If not, or else we'll do it in 2 weeks during the ordinance consideration. So yes. So if you do want to make some comments on that tonight, we would certainly entertain that tonight. If not, we'll do that in 2 weeks when we have the first reading. Okay. No? All right, we'll move on then. Item 4, the adoption of minutes from the July 7, 2026 meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. The consent agenda is next. We have 12 items for approval.
Move approval of consent agenda.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Bodie. Discussion, please vote. That passes. We are on to public hearings. We have one public hearing tonight. That's item 6.1. That's a public hearing to consider the storm sewer and surface water flowage easement vacation for Timberline Village Plat 2, 138th Street and Quail Ridge Drive. The public notice for this was published in the July 10, 2026 Des Moines Register. And any objections to that notice as published?
There were none.
Is there a motion to open this public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. And to introduce the item is our Community Development Director, Rose Schroeder. Rose?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request and a public hearing to vacate some existing storm sewer and surface water flowage easements in Timberline Village Plat 2. What I've got up here on the screen, this is the preliminary plat line work for that preliminary subdivision. At the time, the council took action on that. There were some existing easements of record that were actually off-site easements at the time the first phase here to the west was done. And so one of the conditions of the approval of this preliminary plat was to vacate those, and there will be new easements established with the final plat, which is actually an item for your consideration later on this agenda. So this is a general location, the east end of Quail Ridge, 142nd here on the west, south of Aurora Avenue. And I will pull up that easement exhibit. So there are actually two easements that are proposed to be vacated. The one shown here in red, which is actually the stormwater flowage easement, and then this one in green is separately described as a storm sewer easement. So the request is to vacate both of those, as was a condition of your preliminary plat approval, and we will establish new easements that fit the final plat that you will consider a little later this evening. I would note that we did receive one inquiry from the public after notifications were sent out with some general questions, spoke with one of the planners, and no additional comments have been received.
All right. Any questions for Rose before we open this for public hearing? All right. We are in public hearing on this item. Would anyone like to address the council on the item? All right. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Motion by Bodie.
Second.
Second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes, and there are two items for consideration.
Motion to approve resolution 194-2026.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes.
Motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 2026-32.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Thank you. We'll move on to planning and zoning items. So, item 7.1 is to consider the Magnolia Heights Plat 10 final plat at 150th Street and Coyote Drive. Rose?
Great. So again, up here on the screen, I've got the preliminary plat line work on. I think it's just a helpful reference. So here we are at plat 10 of the larger Magnolia Heights project. Just for reference, 153rd. This will be a continuation of Ironwood Lane. So this phase of the project, titled Plat 10, is just short of 20 acres of that overall larger 104 acre project. It is made up of 37 single-family lots. They do vary in size and width, which was part of the approved PUD master plan. So some of the lots, particularly those here on the east side, are 70-foot wide. There are also some 50 and 60-foot wide lots in this project as well. They differ a bit in setback. They all have a 30-foot front yard setback. The 70-foot wide lots have a 30-foot rear yard setback and 8-foot side yards. The 60-foot wide lots have also a 30-foot rear yard setback, but only a 5-foot side yard. And the 50-foot wide lots have a 25-foot rear yard setback and also the 5-foot side yard. So I'm going to change over here to the actual final plat exhibit. So again, these are our wider lots here on the east and some of the more narrow lots. I will point out Outlot X, if you noticed on the aerial, is for stormwater purposes, and then this Outlot Z will actually be dedicated for parkland. So those are the general highlights, pretty standard comments remaining just on preparation of easement documents, et cetera, that we would often see with a final plat. I'm happy to answer any questions. Mr. Albright is also in the audience.
All right. Questions for Rose on this?
There's sidewalks through the cul-de-sac too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have a sense of how we'll use the parkland dedication?
I am sorry, I don't actually know the answer to that. This is, if I'm being honest, one that still predates me a little bit. But that was already determined in the preliminary plat, so that doesn't represent any change between then and now. I could certainly follow up with you on the answer to that. This does follow there's a natural drainage way back here as well, which shows up on the aerial a bit.
That's what I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll creek stomp that.
All right.
Move approval of Council Letter 8650.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 7.2 is to consider the Sunflower Estates Plat 1 final plat at 15945 to 16051 Douglas Parkway. Rose?
All right, so this is a final plat as well, and this is a preliminary plat that you saw not all that long ago. Here's 156th Street, Douglas on the south. This is 3 existing parcels of record that make up the boundary of this plat. It's all the area I'm going to show you here. So it's all of this property. It does not include this house, although I will point this out for reference just on the plat. It might help to make sense. I'll also point out the existing drive, which is right here where my cursor is, and there is an existing outbuilding on the site. So this is being replatted from 3 parcels into 2 parcels for the purposes of building 2 individual single-family detached homes. Both of those lots vary in size. One is a little more than 8.5 acres. The other is just a bit over 18. A couple things I'm also going to point out before we change over to the plat line work is that water for this property is on the south side of Douglas, so it does have to be extended to service these. And the other thing I will just point out is that there is existing sanitary sewer on what will be proposed lot 1, and so you'll see some easement line work that provides service to lot 2. So here we are on the final plat. Again, Douglas to the south. Here is where my cursor is, where the existing shared access easement will be. They will not be allowed any additional driveways on to Douglas, so that will be their one and only access easement. And it's a little hard to see on this line work, but it also makes a turn and heads directly east, and so that is where the access to lot 2 comes from. The existing building that I pointed out is located just to the north. And as previously indicated, sanitary sewer will service lot 2 through lot 1, and there will be easements required for that as well. There is some stormwater in the form of holding ponds, essentially. And the thing I wanted to point out is that the sanitary sewer and the storm infrastructure does need to be in place before we will give final CO to either of these residential structures, just to ensure that it is in place to service both lots at that time. Other than that, nothing of note has changed since the time of the preliminary plat, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I guess for reference, the one thing when I mentioned this existing house is not in it, that is this square in the lower corner of this plat exhibit, just for reference.
Questions for Rose on this?
Motion to approve resolution 210-2026.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 7.3 is to consider the Line 7 preliminary and final plats at 142nd Street and Waterford Road.
Okay, so we have actually 3 items related to this property on the agenda tonight. So I'll kind of talk about them all together, but do know that the preliminary and final plat would be one action, the site plan would be a subsequent action. So here we are at 142nd and Waterford. This should also look very familiar. This not so long ago was platted into one singular lot in Barrett Estates Plat 4. It is just a little bit over 13 acres and is often known as the Line 7 project. The owners, the applicant, approached the city about the need to subdivide it for various other development-related reasons, which they can share. But what that did was, instead of just being able to draw a neat and tidy line right down the middle, because it's in a PUD, because there are other items of record in place, finding out kind of how to thread the needle of where that line could go without needing several amendments to the PUD document, et cetera, became important, particularly related to some setbacks. So what I've got up on the screen is the preliminary plat. It does show some other line work on here, and you will see the site plan later, but this is still showing 5 45-unit buildings as it has. It also shows a clubhouse and associated pool. There are 2 structures of banks of garages. One of them is here, one of them is here. Related surface parking, their main access drive. You might recall an existing basin here on the south as well as in the northeast. So trying to draw the line through here for a lot 1 and a lot 2 without effectively needing to completely redesign their site plan and move buildings and have to figure out a lot of those pieces. This dark heavy line is the proposed line between lots 1 and 2. Now you will notice many of the things we would typically see in the site plan, in a subdivision, have already been addressed. So when this was platted the first time, any right-of-way needs, the street widening, all of that was already addressed, parkland dedication and the like. So you won't see a lot of those comments, even though this is technically a preliminary plat, but there are a few things that need to move, because now, even though this may be viewed as one campus, one project, we do have to make sure, because they can be individually owned or sold at some point, we have to make sure that each lot is separately served by all utilities, just as we would any other subdivision. So making sure that we have water service now serving both lots independently and not through one lot to get to the other, as well as sanitary. That is also part of this exercise. So now I'm going to go to the final plat. Shows a little more cleanly. So again, you see the lot going through, separating into a lot 1 and a lot 2. And the necessary easements that are also in place. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the subdivision, and then we can talk about a few other items on the site plan.
All right. Any questions?
Move approval of line 7 prelim plat, subject to conditions.
Okay. Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes.
I move resolution 211-2026.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes, and then we'll move on to item 7.4, which is line 7 amendment to the site plan.
Okay, so the couple things I would just reiterate and add here. Again, this is still for 5 45-unit multifamily units, the the structured parking, as well as the surface parking, the clubhouse, and the pool. One thing that is still needing to be resolved is that one of the issues is that there was to be a fire pump to provide service to this entire development. And now that we have 2 lots, we have to ensure that that can work independently. Again, if a lot for whatever reason is ever sold or owned by another entity, we need to make sure that we have that coverage to both pieces. So that is one comment that is of importance that does still need to be resolved as far as a comment within the site plan. Other than that, again, all of the comments are effectively the same. You know, we've got the 50-foot landscaping buffer along Waterford as we would on any arterial road. All of that stays the same. It was in place before, so nothing else new to add.
All right.
So question on C3, that's got the green highlighting. I'm assuming the green is the phase 1 construction with the detention pond in the northeast with different sanitary or different stormwaters running to it, and then just all the west side build for the first 3 buildings.
So my understanding is that lot 1 will be phase 1, and that is what they intend to move forward with at this time.
Is it pretty common to split apartment developments in this kind of way? To be like some buildings on one lot, some buildings on the other, to kind of facilitate that?
I think I don't know that I would say that it's common or that it's not. I think it is often a lending tool. That isn't all that uncommon to me. I mean, we certainly wouldn't see it on every kind of multifamily development, but I think that is a factor of lending often.
So it's more financing related rather than like.
That's my understanding.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any further questions on that? If not, is there a motion?
Motion to approve line 7 amendment to the site plan.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes. And then finally, on planning and zoning items, item 7.5 is to consider the Timberline Village Plat 2 final plat at 138th Street and Quailward's Drive. Rose?
Okay, so now we are back at Timberline Village. We started off at Timberline Village this evening and vacated some previous stormwater and related easements. So again, here we are at the east end of Quail Ridge with a 7-acre parcel that we are subdividing into single-family lots. There is one outlot here around, I guess, the easterly side, I would say. And because you are already familiar with the site, point out just a couple things. Pretty straightforward, but again, outlot Z is now where stormwater will be addressed. There are a few other things also occupying parts of outlot Z. There is a pedestrian easement that extends from the end of the cul-de-sac to the east boundary of this plat, and that is for trail purposes, and that trail will be constructed. There is also a pedestrian easement which would allow for a future trail access to the boundary of this plat that will not be constructed at this time, but could perhaps connect to other improvements located farther east and heading south of here in the future. There is also a sanitary sewer line that crosses part of that as well. Lots range in size from 15,000 square feet to nearly an acre, about 40,000 some square feet. 30-foot front yard setbacks, 30-foot rear yard setbacks, 8-foot side yard. Pretty standard and common for what we see there. Most lots are at least 100 feet wide. Because of the terrain in the vicinity, there is no extension of Quail Ridge planned continuing on to the east. 5-foot sidewalks on both sides. Now that is a bit different. We had 4-foot sidewalks in the first phase to the west, so that will transition to 5-foot in this addition. And again, those new stormwater easements will be recorded with the plat. happy to answer any questions.
For all of the surface water flow easements and like Outlaw Z, like, this is probably more of a builder question, but like, is that gonna be relatively undisturbed, or is that gonna be something where they do grading and other work to kind of get
There
things
will
on
be
it?
some grading in this for sure. I wouldn't say that the entirety will be disturbed, but there will be grading. I mean, there is also stormwater easement there as well, which is meant to detain and slow down water. So there will be some shaping, and also to get the trail graded through there as well.
Other questions?
Move approval of resolution 208-2026.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Further discussion? Please vote. That passes. That takes us to the end of planning and zoning items. Regular agenda items, item 8.1 is to consider the ordinance 2026-33 regarding additional yield location. And Kristen will answer any questions if there are.
Was this as a result of somebody specifically asking for review of this intersection, or is this just something that we had on the back burner?
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Yeah, we've had a number of requests for this intersection. The full connection up to Waterford just opened in November, so it's a relatively new intersection. And with the closure on 142nd Street, I think some people are using that route both because it's new and they haven't used it before. So we have received quite a few requests for us to look at it. So that's why we took a look at this one.
And David, in your note for questions, so with the clarification of like stop sign versus yield for like control of intersections, like 1,800 cars a day or less.
That was Kristen's note, for the record,
Okay,
not David's note.
But your name was on it, so.
So for situations like that, I mean, is that still a situation like at our discretion where we're putting yield signs in that regard?
So there's a lot of criteria in the METCD, and it does allow for some engineering judgment. The 1,800 threshold is more of, is a yield sign appropriate for this, or is a stop sign? And at this point, because of it being a new intersection, we don't have great counts there. We can look at it, but just from looking at the other intersections in the neighborhood, I don't think we'll be above that threshold for a stop sign. I think it'll be firmly in the yield category.
Okay. Because every now and then I hear folks say, well, this intersection needs a stop sign, or that
Absolutely.
intersection needs a stop
Yep.
sign. So trying to figure out like where is it yield versus where is it,
Yeah.
or does it warrant control at all, or is yield appropriate, I guess is maybe the thought that I had in mind there.
Yeah, and the MUTC has always laid out guidance for that. The new version kind of just separates those categories a little more clearly. It's not exactly apples to apples comparison. It's the process to work through to be standardized with other cities across the nation. So.
Gotcha. I'll motion approval of first reading of ordinance 2026-33.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 8.2 was removed from the amended agenda, so we move on to special topics, and we're going to talk about branding for Downtown Urbandale. Derek, turn it over to Derek.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm excited to share where we're at in this process with you all. We're going to talk a little bit about downtown identity and downtown branding. You may remember in February, we approved this contract with De Novo Marketing. They're a consultant. They've been really great to work with. Most of this presentation, a couple council members have already seen. It was originally a 2-hour presentation. I'm not going to keep you here that long. I'm going to try to shoot at 10 minutes. We're going to talk about the strategic insights, what we learned from our focus group when we brought a ton of people into these chambers here. We're going to go over brand promise, and then we'll touch on the visual direction. So De Novo, this type of work is a little bit of art and a little bit of science. So you've got your audience that we're trying to attract or capture, our neighbors, what are our neighbors doing, and then our brand, what should our brand be, what should our identity be. When we had our focus group in late spring here in council chambers, we heard three things really resonating with the people in these focus groups. Third space opportunities. People really want a place for third space. You know, home and work isn't cutting it. They want something else. They also want a space that breaks outside of the standard utility. They want a reason to stop and stay and not pass through. So give them a reason to linger, give them a reason to be. And social engagement and a sense of community. They're really looking for that piece. What we also heard is the people that came to this focus group were, you know, from age, I'm not kidding, 17 all the way up to 89 years old. So we heard a wide spectrum, and this audience said they loved Urbandale, they loved the Urbandale community, and they loved the many aspects that were here in Urbandale. They have everything that they want, but maybe not everything that they have everything that they need, but maybe not everything that they want. So these were they're informed and invested. The residents crave a destination that resonates and completes their expectation of home. When we look at our neighbors around the metro, the competition tends to blend together. They use similar messaging, vibrant, walkable, mixed use, anatomical metaphors, heart, soul, center, and they really lean into a sense of charm to evoke a neighborhood feeling. The consultant recommended and said that they're starting to blur together by offering a nearly identical experience and talking about themselves in similar ways. So they're lacking a little bit of originality and history. So we could lean into our history a little bit to differentiate ourselves. So what we learned, what the insight there is that if we're prioritizing the place over the people, then we're gonna fall into that trap as well, so we don't wanna do that. Many competing downtown brands are using similar language and becoming difficult to distinguish. So when we think about our brand, we want a return to the people, prioritizing pedestrians over traffic. The end of the line becomes our perfect third space. And you're thinking, end of the line, what is that? 100 years ago, 50 years ago, Urbandale used to have a trolley that ended at 70th and Douglas. And that trolley connected downtown Urbandale, or downtown Urbandale, to downtown Des Moines, and went back and forth. That trolley, of course, is no longer there, but Trolley Park is there if you ever wanted to stop by and see it. So we're really gonna put people in the conductor seat here. With deep history and a strong revitalization plan in place, we know we're on the right track. So we're gonna reclaim the Downtown Urbandale name. Urbandale's downtown development presents residents and businesses an opportunity for rediscovery, not reinvention. So when we bring this all together, and let me see if I can get my mouse up here. A lot of times when you see a Venn diagram, people are like, oh, well, we want to be right here in the middle. Not necessarily, because if we were right here in the middle, we'd be doing exactly what our competition is doing, and then we wouldn't be different. So really, our spot is actually up a little bit. That's our big idea. Downtown Urbandale needs a brand that lays the tracks for rediscovery, unifying people around a complete community experience. So that gets us to our brand promise, how we start to talk about Downtown Urbandale. What is the purpose of a brand promise? It's our internal reminder to ourselves. It's our commitment to our community. It's the belief in what Downtown Urbandale will eventually become. And it provides, of course, messaging consistency when we're talking to our stakeholders about Downtown Urbandale. What is this? What's happening downtown? It gives us that ability. I was going to put the brand promise up here and allow you to read it, and then I was like, oh, close your eyes and envision Urbandale. I'm not gonna do that. I'm actually gonna put up a few nice pictures while I read the brand promise to you, and I want you to envision Downtown Urbandale 10 years from now, 20 years from now, while I read this brand promise. So what's our next stop? Because the truth is that life's a trip, and Downtown Urbandale is a gateway, not just from one side of the city to the other. It's a portal that connects our past to our future. It links us to each other. East and west, old and young, sentimental and forward-thinking, Downtown Urbandale is an introduction to everything else the city has in store. Together, we see a vibrant destination soon filled with shops, housing, and most importantly, people, where we circle back to what matters. We don't need to grasp for something from scratch. Instead, we're rediscovering who we are, mining for meaning from what came before, because there are memories here, and hopes, and aspirations, and a vision for what's ahead. That's what makes this neighborhood another example of what it means to be uniquely Urbandale. This is where it began and where something new now begins, defined by the people who made it what it was and will make it so much more. Designed to linger, staying around to make new memories in real time, where we go from here will be driven by everyone in our community. So let's get ready to create moments. Meet us at a location with history. Experience what happens when what's old is new again. In the near future, when you're looking for a night out with friends, or a space to shop local, or a place to call home, you're headed to Downtown Urbandale. Any reactions to that brand promise when you hear it? Well, I didn't write it, so I just.
Yeah.
When I first heard it, I thought it brought the respect back to that part of town, and it made me really proud. So, looking forward to seeing where this goes. But that brings us to our visual direction. When we think about what we want Downtown Urbandale to feel like, this is the mood board that we're going with. When you get a sense of what's it going to feel like when I'm there. These images, these colors, these really represent the vitality and the energy that we're hoping to capture in this future state of Downtown Urbandale 10, 20 years from now. Preferably 2 years from now, but. This is the color palette that we're going to lean into for the area. By using a layered approach to the visuals, we reference the rediscovery piece from the overall strategic insight, which is all about the intersection of Urbandale's history with its new vibrant energy. Next steps.
Derek, can you go back? Are the two blues, are those our flag colors?
They're not, but they're very, very close. They could be. But they're very close.
I am not in marketing at all, but it would seem to me that that would make sense to use
we have a lot of
those
blues
two
going on.
colors of blue.
Yeah,
But
we could actually. They are very close.
Yeah.
We could move it probably a hair.
I mean, don't do what I don't. I'm just saying.
Yes.
That makes sense.
It would make sense. Yeah, Amy.
I trust our marketing director.
Yeah.
I do too, but I mean, we have invested years of his life and Curtis's life
Yes.
And Bob's.
Am I?
and Bob's
Well,
He
I would
wanted,
say
he
too.
wanted raccoon laser eyes.
know.
to come up with a flag that we are wildly proud of.
Absolutely.
I just
Absolutely.
think that they should it would make sense to the non-marketing eye
yes.
if we made sure that those, because we're gonna slap that flag up everywhere, like those in the
Go back,
picture,
really. Oh.
which I was unsure if that was hung correctly.
It is.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those look like candy canes on them.
Well,
But
it's AI quickly generated, so.
I don't want us to, beat a dead horse
So-
here,
yes.
but you get what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
And you
absolutely.
do,
And they're
you
so
do what you're
close.
paid for, though.
Yes.
Yes, I look at them.
Okay, next steps. So we're going to finalize the messaging matrix by using that brand promise to segment out our groups and how we'll communicate with them. We'll use this information here then to finalize the logo development, which you'll get hopefully sooner rather than later. We'll then develop partner toolkits, because really a part of this brand is we want businesses and entertainment and people downtown using
my
this,
question.
this. So we have to basically wrap it up with a bow and give them the tools so that they can use it as well. We'll then create that brand guide, and then we'll do a rollout plan. That's the end of my presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions.
For the branding toolkit, is that going to be something similar to how we've done the flag, where we've more or less open licensed and everything?
I would say probably a little more tight than the flag, only because initially we want to be really intentional about how the brand's used, so it makes a good impression. it's basically training wheels for the businesses so that they can use it. Most of them probably don't have a brand guide and may not have any experience with a brand guide before. So
Gotcha.
it's a helpful tool for them. Any other questions?
Can we just say how exciting this is?
Very excited too.
Yeah.
Very excited. You'll start to really see this brand in life at the October 10 pop-up park event.
Great.
Anything else?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Derek.
Thanks.
All right, city manager's report.
Believe it or not, nothing tonight.
Okay. Blake?
Let's see. I mean, it's all Ragbri related. Good luck, Joe, wherever in the state you are.
Were they tonight? They're in
And
Boone tonight?
Boone, yeah. Hopefully a cooler ride today.
Nathan,
I just want to put a quick thank you out to everybody that wrote in about the personal transportation ordinance. I just think it's good to get some eyes on that and get people's attention on it. It looks like people are very interested, and so it'll be good to have that conversation once we have first draft, and have people come in, I'm assuming next meeting and everything like that. So very happy with that, all the attention on that. So that's all I got.
All right. Bridget?
We have a lot of our schools playing in the girls' state softball tournament, and Waukee Northwest is doing very well. So I look forward to reporting how well they did in a couple of weeks. But in the meantime, Valley and DCG are also playing, and can't believe we're wrapping up another high school sports season. So I was glad to see that we deferred the personal transportation device. That doesn't roll off the tongue very well. Will we be, I don't know if I'm asking this to Amy or Bob, but like attempting to discuss the ordinance with the bicycle coalition? Is that who?
The street
Probably
collective.
the
But
street collective.
The street collective. I'm
And
sorry.
IBC
There's
too, probably.
before the meeting, because there seemed to be some misperceptions in their public statements about our proposed ordinance. So I didn't know if we were just gonna, I mean, we deferred it, which I think was a great idea, especially with, well, I guess I'm the only non-bicyclist up here, so me and David, with Joe being gone. But I just didn't know if we intended to have some discussions. And I mean, the word got out of this like immediately upon, the chief's presentation. I think we had emails. So I don't know, and I don't know if that's because people are out there listening to our meetings or watching our meetings. But are we, obviously I want people to be able to give input, because this is a really important, I think, and incredibly timely thing that we're doing. And clearly we have a wide variety of input that we're already receiving, but are we do the public know that we're going to be talking about this, other than those that are active in the bicycle community? I don't know, I'm kind of rambling, but I just feel like we maybe haven't quite gotten where we should be before we have our discussion. Because I like everybody to know enough to be able to participate in the discussion, I guess is what I'm saying.
You like to have everybody know, I guess. I
Well,
don't understand
like,
what you mean by that.
if we're taking action on it, I think it's important that people that have a vested interest know that we're taking action on it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, other than, an avid cyclist that are involved in these advocacy groups, do people know that we're doing this? Because, I mean, we've gotten a few emails from, parents, trail users, with their take, but I think there's a lot of other people out there that have opinions that maybe we haven't. It's just, it's.
We can certainly bring extra attention
yeah.
to the fact that the plan is to vote on, to start the process on August 3rd.
I think that, I guess, I'm really struggling with articulation of this tonight, but I think, when people come to us after we've approved something, it's too late. And so I want to make sure that, especially since we've taken another we have something out there and we have a couple of weeks to just maybe having some sort of, I'm looking at Derek,
Let me help.
some sort of, something out there that says, hey, we're gonna be talking about this. Here's a link to the proposed resolution and the highlighted, changes.
Yeah, I think it, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, we could certainly bring, additional attention to it, following the work session. I know there was certainly a lot of conversation after the work session. We've had, a variety of people with, as you can imagine, a wide range of opinions. Specific to the comments that were made from the collective, I've asked the chief to follow up a little bit on that specifically, and I'll provide that to the council. Just, the chief was, I think, very specific in the work session about why some of the approaches that were taken that were a little bit different in terms of the size and so forth. So we're going to follow up with that with all of you, but we can certainly, I'm sure communications can do more to bring additional attention to it. I think based on what the amount of feedback that we've gotten, folks are aware that this discussion's going on regionally. They may have lost track of where each community was in the process, but we can bring more attention to it.
And that was my thought too. I mean, again, with this, and that's why you have 3 readings too on an ordinance, is that we're not gonna resolve it in the first reading. We're gonna have, we'll have time to react and look at some of these initial comments. The chief will look at some of these things. We can vet some of these items, have some dialogue, and maybe some initial reaction on some things, but then we'll have a lot of discussion of that first ordinance, and then take a lot of it in, and, and then if we need to tweak it and revise it in the second and even in the third, that's what we do too, so.
And I
If we
think
even need to postpone it for a time to get a redraft back, we can do that. So we're not under the gun to get anything done. Well, ideally, I think people would like to see something sooner than later, but I think the goal also is to get it right, or get it as close to, we want to make it we want to make it good and make it a good ordinance, not rush something. So
Right.
I think the goal is to let people articulate their thoughts. We'll react and come up with the best final.
Well, I guess I want to make sure that people know that we're talking about this. Obviously, this is something that is a hot topic amongst people that we, that are on social media, that are talking to us.
Yeah.
But is the parent of the kid that is misusing their personal electronic, personal transportation device, those are the parents I would love to hear from, and that's gonna be hard to get them, but I don't know.
Derek can do it.
Derek can do anything.
I think it's education, and it's also.
Well, I mean, definitely education down the road, but I just think awareness is
the parents of those who are misusing the device. We want to hear more from them.
No,
Okay.
well,
I'm just
understand.
understand.
I just find it, this is fascinating. We've gotten emails and I'm assuming they've gone to everybody that, want these on the trails and off the streets, and then people that want them off the trails and on, for the same reasons.
Right.
And so I just,
Every major policy decision you deal with, that's
it's,
the
I just think, the more that people, can know about what we're doing, that we, because we've said that where this is happening, and now it's happening, so, I don't know.
Something to consider is perhaps partnering with our school districts, because they're gonna be doing a bunch of back to school and their final registrations and all the school related
Stuff.
stuff.
It is pretty good timing, because I mean, it's gonna be late August and we're gonna be back at it in school, from a school perspective, so.
Well,
that'd
and
be-
I'd just like to submit the thought that what you've described, Bob, Mayor, is an important understanding of the process. Because I think there's a lot of people that look at the ordinance and there's going to be a reading of the ordinance and some level of quote approval and an assumption that this is sort of some cut and dried thing versus this is a starting point for conversation.
Yeah.
And so I think that might be an important piece to include in the messaging as we try and get people to come and work with us on this.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah, that's all I have.
No DART
No,
information?
nothing related to DART. Did anyone make it out to the new operations and maintenance facility?
Able to.
Okay, well, if that's something that excites you, I'm sure I can arrange for the opportunity to get you out there. David and I are meeting to talk about the, no, I think there's another meeting that you're coming, but we're about the transit, the micro-transit zones. Those are gonna be rolling out, and so I think we have a meeting that is not yet scheduled.
We're having another meeting with Aaron on,
Right, a 90-minute meeting.
Okay, do I have that on my calendar?
no, I think
I'm gonna stop.
Angie was trying to get it scheduled. So.
Okay, well, I'm gonna stop talking now. So nothing really going on with DART. Imagine that's
Okay.
kinda wild.
I wanted to mention Touch a Truck. It was really a terribly hot day and yet a wonderful event. Took both the grandkids. We were there a long time. They had an absolute blast. So thanks to the police and fire and all the many partners, not just local here. We had some state partners as well there. It was just a really wonderful thing for kids to get to do and their parents, and pretty edifying. It was a really good way to learn about how some of these different folks do their operations. It's just an excellent event, and I wanted to thank people for that. I wanted to mention 3 upcoming events. In partnership with ICON, there will be a water tale. I'm the one that's reading the Bluey story about the creek on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. at our Creek Access, Walnut Creek Access in Walker Johnston Park. And again, on August 11th in that same vicinity, there will be a Creek Stompers event. And so get the kids out to some of these things, because this is a way to get introduced to Icon Water Trails and to our parks. And then I did want to remind everyone of Sunday, July 26th, 6:30 p.m., Pulling Strings, but I don't know whether we're going to be in Walker Johnston Park or at E.J. Giovanetti Center, because the forecast just changed to be high 90s. So we'll see what happens. You can only play the harp while sweating for a certain period of time. So with that,
All right.
and thank you.
And congratulations, Pat, Sage over 70. We want to.
Thank you very much. Old Sage. Thank you.
That's a tremendous honor. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Wisdom warrior.
Wisdom warrior. I like that a little better. Thanks.
The only thing I have, I've gotten a couple of text messages, and then there's some Facebook traffic around the cameras that have went up along Douglas, and people are have questions about what they're for. So it might be good to do just a general Facebook post about the Douglas traffic study and what those are for. So I've been sending people to the website. Yes, but it might require some special attention as well.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I've seen those too. So. All right, and Joe is in Boone, shaking craft drinks right now. So we will. Hopefully he's had a good, safe day with good weather. So we'll hope he's doing great. So I just wanted to report we had the State of the City last week, and again I apologize. We probably didn't get the news on that as well as we probably could have, but again, this was a little bit different year because of the Civility Summit we're going to do in September. We ratcheted the State of the City back this year. It was a good crowd. But to get it out, we're still going to And to make sure people can access it, Derek and I are gonna work on we need to talk about that and get that recorded and to get that out so we can push out the information so everybody still has access to the information. So we'll make sure to do that so everybody still has access to that. And then next year, the plan would be to go back to our normal plan where we'd have a presentation either here or at the library or somewhere, because we've always had great crowds. Even though we had a good crowd for this, I mean, it certainly didn't beat the crowds we've had for our own events, so, yep. And then the Civility Summit, again, we're coming up on that. Derek reminds me we were 61 days away from that, so we're gearing up for that and looking to that. So stay tuned for some more information on that, but that'll be coming in September 21, right, Derek? 22, thank you.
And is that during the day or?
No, it'll be late afternoon.
Is that something that we need to block our calendars for?
You should. Do we have a hold? Maybe we'll make sure there's a hold on your calendar.
That would be great. I
Yeah.
don't think there is.
I have it on mine too, but just an all day.
All right. I don't have anything further, so with that, we're at the end of our agenda. We stand adjourned.
That was almost a record. You got really close.